Patience Miyuki by Roxanne Marie Gallias. Blue earth, orange moon. Spring was all dressed up and ready for her first day of the year. Miyuki was ready too. She was already up and running through the garden. Wake up, grandfather, wake up! The day has started without you. Be patient, Miyuki, be patient. In an hour the day will still be here, and I'm enjoying the first rays of sunshine through my window. But you'll miss the last moonbeams of winter. Quick, quick, we might still catch them. Miyuki hopped through the garden, and grandfather trotted behind her. Together they greeted each new blossom, and together they bowed to the wind. Good morning, cherry tree. Good morning, sweet grass. Good morning, flowers. Then Miyuki stopped at a little flower that was still asleep, unaware that springtime was beginning all around it. Wake up, little flower, wake up! Be patient, Miyuki. This little flower is not ready to open. It is precious and delicate and needs the purest and finest water. Before grandfather had finished speaking, Miyuki was already running to the well. The bucket banged all the way to the bottom. Instead of water, it brought back up a big toad. Quick, quick, I need the purest water for my little flower. Be patient, Miyuki, said the well. It hasn't rained since the last full moon. In a few days, I will be full again. Miyuki did not want to wait. Ask the clouds then. Maybe they can help you. Miyuki ran, bucket in hand, to find the brightest and prettiest clouds in the sky. But the clouds she found were too gray, too big, too far away. Then Miyuki spotted the perfect cloud. Pretty cloud, my little flower needs the purest water to wake up. But the pretty cloud refused to give her its water. Dismayed, Miyuki continued on her way and met more clouds. Some offered her their water, but it was taking too long to fill her bucket, and Miyuki didn't want to wait. It was already the middle of the afternoon, and the first day of spring was half gone. Miyuki kept walking, farther and farther from home, until she heard water rushing onto rocks, and happened upon a beautiful waterfall. Waterfall, would you give me some of your purest water for my little flower? My purest water lies in a lake behind these walls. If you wait for night, when I am asleep, my water flows so softly you will be able to pass through to take some. Wait? I cannot wait, waterfall. I am in such a rush. If you cannot wait, then I cannot help. Miyuki had been running all day, and her little bucket was still empty. A flower-filled house caught her eye. A young boy in a silver moon-colored kimono was watering his garden. Could you give me some of your purest water? My little flower really needs it. The boy wanted to know who Miyuki was and where she was from before he would agree to give her some of his water. So Miyuki told him her story. Then the boy filled Miyuki's bucket. Thank you, Miyuki cried, and then she hurried home. Quick, quick. Miyuki was running so fast she didn't see the stepping stones on the path. Suddenly she was falling. Miyuki's knees were scraped, the bucket broken, and the water all gone. Evening was falling. She was far from home and she was exhausted. Miyuki had been up since sunrise, trying to find the purest water for her little flower, and now the day of spring was almost over. In that silent, still moment, Miyuki heard singing. She knew the song. It was the river that ran by her house. What are you doing so far from home at the hour when the moon outlines the mountains? River, I'm lost. I'm tired, and I still don't have the purest water for my little flower. I don't have any water at all. Be patient, Miyuki. Sometimes it is necessary to slow down. I will take you home, and then you can have some of my water. Lulled by the slow, quiet water, Miyuki fell asleep. The river carried her home, where her grandfather found her, picked her up, and put her to bed. Blue earth, orange moon. Spring was all dressed up and ready for her second day of the year. Miyuki was ready too. She was already up and running through the garden. Grandfather was up too, waiting for her next to the little flower. When Miyuki saw the little flower was still closed, she started to cry. Two of the purest tears ran down her cheeks. Wake up, little flower, wake up. Be patient, my little girl. Neither flowers nor anyone in the world deserves to be watered by tears. Yesterday you ran away so fast you missed the first day of spring. Come, sit close to me, watch, and wait for once. Miyuki sat and watched and waited. She watched as grandfather smelled the scent of a beautiful blooming flower with generous leaves. And she watched as, very slowly, he gently bent one of its leaves so that a few dewdrops, the purest water, slid down to the sleeping flower. Then the little flower slowly opened. "Good morning," the little flower said. "Please forgive me for being late. I've been dreaming of spring." Okay, so now let's make an easy origami fish. So grab a nice fresh sheet of origami paper, and you're going to fold the paper in half. So from this line to this line. Okay, bring the paper up, and crease it well. Now go ahead and unfold the paper, turn it, and you're going to do the same exact thing. So from this line to this line. Crease it well, and unfold. Okay, so now you see how the paper is now divided into 4 even squares. So take this edge, and you're going to fold in half to make a triangle. So you're going to bring it to that center point, okay? It's going to be just like this. And do the same thing on the other side. So this point to the center. Okay, now it looks like a house. Now turn the paper completely around, and you're going to repeat that same process we just did to make this point. So take this point and bring it to the center. Crease it well. And do the same thing with this point. Point to center. Okay. So I have this pointing upward. You're going to want to take this edge, this point, and bring it to the center. So you see you have the 2 flaps on top, and then the other 2 flaps on the bottom. So with these 2 flaps pointing up, take this right point and bring it to the center. Okay, when you do that, that bottom piece will pop out just like that. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. Let that bottom piece flap up. Okay, now take this bottom point right here and bring it to this point to this point, and fold it in half. And then flip the model over, and just like that, you created your own little fish. You can add an eye, you can decorate it, and have some fun. A Different Pond by Balfi. Dad wakes me quietly so Mom can keep sleeping. It will be hours before the sun comes up. In the kitchen, the bare bulb is burning. Dad has been up for a while, making sandwiches and packing the car. "Can I help?" I ask. "Sure," my dad whispers, and hands me the tackle box. The street lights look brighter and the roads aren't so busy before the sun comes up. Dad turns on the heater and tells me stories. A kid in my school said my dad's English sounds like a thick, dirty river, but to me, his English sounds like gentle rain. We stop at the bait store on Lake Street. It always seems to be open. "You're here early today," the bait man says. "I got a second job," my dad explains. "I have to work this morning." "On a Saturday?" the bait man asks. My dad nods. I feel the bag of minnows move. They swim like silver arrows in my hands. It's still dark when we get to the pond. We park the car and climb over the divider between the road and the trees. My dad holds my hand and walks ahead through the tangle and scrub. Step where I step, he says. I'm thinking about what Dad told the bait man. If you got another job, why do we still have to fish for food, I ask. Everything in America costs a lot of money, he explains. I feel calluses on his hand when he squeezes mine. Sometimes the Hmong man is at the pond. He speaks English like my dad and likes to tell funny jokes. Sometimes there's a black man there too. He shows me his colorful lure collection. This time, it's just me and my dad. It is a little bit cold. I rub my hands together, yawn, and look up to see faint stars like freckles. As Dad sets up in a clearing, I gather small, thin twigs for a fire. They need to be dry and clean. I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 10 more for later. I put some rocks in a circle and set up the twigs, like a volcano, Dad reminds me. I set one end of each twig down, the other up, leaning them in so they rest against each other and hold each other up. I get it to light with just one match. Dad nods. You want to put a minnow on the hook? Dad asks. I want to help, but I shake my head no. I don't want to hurt that little fish, even if I know it's about to be eaten by a bigger one. My dad smiles. He isn't upset with me. Dad hands me a sandwich, cold bologna between 2 pieces of bread. Careful the spicy stuff, he says. There's half a peppercorn, like a moon split in two, studded into the meat. I used to fish by a pond like this one when I was a boy in Vietnam, Dad says, biting into his sandwich. With your brother, I ask? He nods and looks away. Dad tells me about the war, but only sometimes. He and his brother fought side by side. One day, his brother didn't come home. The bobber dips in the dark and Dad pulls. Got one, he says, almost shouting. And soon another. Can I help, I ask? He nods, and I use 2 hands to help guide the fish into the bucket. The fish feels slimy and rough at the same time. Dad laughs at the funny face I make. Dad smiles, his teeth broken and white in the dark, because we have a few fish and he knows we will eat tonight. Time to go home. Dad must get ready for work. He washes his hands with a small nub of green and white soap. Then I do the same. I look at the trees as we walk back to the car. I wonder what the trees look like at that other pond in the country my dad comes from. By the time we get home, the sunlight coming through the windows is just a faint tint, blue and gray instead of gold. At home, Mom looks tired, but she smiles at the fish in the big white bucket. My dad changes his clothes and gets ready to go to work. He pats me on the back and says to Mom, "Our boy did a good job with the fire today." "He learned so quickly," Mom says. Then she asks me to help with the fish before she has to go to work too. I'm sad that she and Dad must leave, but not too sad. I know that later on they will both come home. "Look after your baby brother," Mom reminds my brothers and sisters. She means me. Then she gets on her bike and goes to work. I'm not a baby, I think to myself. I helped catch dinner. Tonight, when we are all home, Dad will put rice in the cooker and Mom will fry the fish on both sides until they are crispy. I will bring out the jar of fish sauce that has flecks of chili pepper and carrots floating on top. At the table, my brothers and sisters will tell funny stories. Mom will ask about their homework. Dad will nod and smile and eat with his eyes half closed. "Good fish," he will say to me. And I will smile and nod. And later, when we sleep, we will dream of fish in faraway ponds. Now we're going to make a kirigami fish. So this one is a little bit more difficult than the last one, and it's kirigami. So remember from the turtle we made, kiri means cutting. So you're going to need a pair of scissors, and if you need it, make sure that you have parental supervision, okay? So start with a fresh sheet of origami paper, and you're going to fold it in half. So this point to this point. Crease it well. And now, leaving the paper folded, you're going to fold it in half once again. This point to this point. Crease it well, and then go ahead and unfold it. Okay, now turn the paper around so the top point of the triangle is pointing downward. Now you're going to take these 2 edges, so let's start with this edge, and you're going to bring it to this bottom point. So this point to this point. And you're just going to grab it and fold it down. So it looks like that. You're going to repeat that on this side. This point to this point. Okay, so with these two flaps pointing downward, grab this bottom flap and fold it up. It'll look like that, and then repeat that, point to point. Okay, now you're going to take, so you see how these are flaps, take this top flaps point, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just go ahead, pinch it, and fold it over. And you're going to repeat that on the other side. Top point, pinch it over. Almost looks like a samurai helmet. Okay, and the model will look like this. Now go ahead and take this bottom flap, so you see these two pieces lift from one another. So take this top flap, and you're going to fold it up. So you're going to fold it up and make sure you leave enough room right here. So about like this. And you see how there's extra space? Fold it like that, and then take this bottom line once again. I'm going to fold it up. You see, you have a samurai helmet, but we're making a fish, so we have more steps. So this is where the scissors, the kiri cutting part, comes in. So you're going to cut it to about this center line, but don't cut it all the way. So you want to leave a bit of a space right there. See, I left some space. You're going to repeat that. So see, it's still attached, but those edges are cut. Okay, so then take that piece you cut and fold it up. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky. So take the helmet, it's going to be a fish, open it up, and you see how there's that space? And push these two edges toward each other. Take those two edges, push in, and that's the fish body. And then that piece you cut is going to be the tail. So just take it, take this triangle, you see that crease? Just fold it in on itself. And just like that, you created your own origami fish.